is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, the Marcos Jr. administration obsession with Pastor ACQ and the Kingdom of Jesus Christ is relentless and persistent, as the KOJ remarks its first month of the June 10 attack on its religious compounds, also known as the Day of Infamy. The legal counsels hold a press conference to address pressing issues and answer the statements made by DILG Secretary Bernard Abalos, and among them is labeling the good pastor as a fugitive. The KOJC Legal Counsel cites Abalos for his irresponsible remarks, reminding him that no law allows an individual to be called a fugitive without guilty verdict. Is Marcos Jr. using Pastor ACQ as a cover-up? The legal counsel of the KOJC believes that President Bongbong Marcos is using the good pastor to divert attention from his administration failures to address major issues in the Philippines. Qatar and Egypt are set to host the latest round of ceasefire talks in Gaza. I am Christopher Aclo, and this is Newsline World starts now. The camp of Pastor ACQ cites DILG Secretary Benjamin Abalos for labeling the good pastor a fugitive. According to the legal counsel of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, no law allows an individual to be called a fugitive without a guilty verdict. MJ Montihar reports.
Interior Secretary Benhur Abalos received more than just a scolding after accusing Pastor ACQ of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ of being a fugitive. Despite being a lawyer, Abalos seems unaware of the law. According to the camp of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, Pastor ACQ and 5 other individuals cannot be considered fugitives since they have not been proven guilty in court.
Yung fugitive from justice, legally under our present dispensation, he is not. Rodriguez versus Comelec, which was decided on July 24, 1996, will explain that he cannot be considered as a fugitive from justice because he has not yet been convicted, no, and he is still facing a case, and there is still a question as to the charge aspect, no? We are still questioning his indictment. So if you follow Rodriguez versus Comelec, he is not a fugitive from justice.
KOJC Legal Counsel Attorney Torion cited the Supreme Court decision Labao versus Comelec, asserting that Pastor ACQ cannot be deemed a fugitive.
If you follow Labao versus Comelec, which was decided on July 19 of 2016, you cannot also consider him as a fugitive from justice simply because of the fact that there must be evidence that he is evading the operations of the law. So, absent evidence that he is really evading the operations of the law, then you could not, conclude that he is he is a fugitive from justice.
Torion also stressed that there is no proof that the good pastor left the country. Therefore, he should not be labeled a fugitive. Attorney Adam Jambangan, another KOJC legal counsel, referenced the recently enacted RA 11983, or the New Philippine Passport Act. According to Attorney Jambangan, based on this act, Pastor ACQ and his associates cannot be considered fugitives.
That law, particularly Section 3, Paragraph J, defined the technical definition of what a fugitive from justice is. It has been defined by that provision that a fugitive from justice refers to those who flee under the following circumstance. The only circumstance that it cited is after conviction by a Philippine court to avoid prosecution. In the case at bar, there was no conviction yet. In fact, he was not yet arraigned. He was not yet been subjected. He was the jurisdiction over the person of Pastor ACQ has not been acquired yet. So it is unfair for the state or for the media and even Secretary Abalos tagging Pastor ACQ as pugante.
For Jeffrey Kaerik Celis, a former CBP, NPA, NDF National Intelligence Officer, Pastor ACQ is not evading the law. Instead, he is only safeguarding himself from the threat of an extraordinary rendition.
Hindi po siya tumatakas sa batas at katarungan. Inaalagaan niya pong mabuhay siya at maiwasan po ang isang napakadelikadong estado at instrumento nito na siyang kinakaharap niya ngayon.
Celis added that Pastor Apollo was not the only one who made such a move. To recall, former PNP chief and Senator Panfilo Lacson went into hiding due to an arrest warrant against him. Furthermore, accusations against Pastor Apollo do not imply guilt, nor do they eliminate his presumption of innocence. Meanwhile, KOJC Executive Secretary Eleanor Cardona reminded those who accuse Pastor Apollo of being a fugitive to tread carefully.
Ito lang ang reminder sa lahat, no? Please do not tread on dangerous ground when you touch pastors being a pastor of the flock of the kingdom of Jesus Christ. As is said in Psalms 105:15, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. So this is a warning to those who are accusing pastor. Kung maka-prosecute kayo, walang habas. So this is just a reminder and a warning to everyone. Tsaka yung sinabi na fugitive si pastor o nag-i-evade siya sa law, for us, Kingdom of Jesus Christ, full-time miracle workers and members, we do understand and we are really praying for our beloved pastor's protection. It's like a story in the Bible, no? What happened with a weak king, Ahab, and his wicked wife, Jezebel. Queen Jezebel, she's so wicked that he wanted to kill the prophet Elijah. That's why it was God who hid Elijah. He was hidden because to protect him, no, and to safeguard him para to preserve his life so that when the time comes, he can perform his mission that God has given him.
In response to calls for Pastor Apollo to surrender, a KOJC missionary had this to say.
Kung kayo po sa pamilya ninyo, kayo po nakakaalam kung sino yung pamilya niyo, di ba? Tapos inakusahan po ng ganito. At alam nyo, inosente yung pamilya ninyo. Iso-surrender ba ninyo? Sino po nakakaalam kay pastor? Kayo ba na nandyan sa labas o kami na nandito sa loob?
For Ganimable of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
A cover-up. This is how the legal counsel of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ and former CPP, NPA, NDF describes Marcos Jr.'s tactics in using Pastor Apollo ACQ to divert attention from the administration's failure in addressing major issues currently facing in the Philippines. Let's find out more about this with Almar Forloso's report.
The soaring prices of basic goods, the looming threat of war with more powerful countries, the increasing number of hungry Filipinos, and blatant and rampant corruption by heartless politicians. These are just some of the issues that the current administration should focus on. Instead of finding solutions, the Marcos administration is avoiding and hiding these problems. What's worse is that innocent and defenseless Filipinos are being used as tools to cover up the government's failures. One such example is the spiritual leader of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, or KOJC, Pastor Apollo ACQ, who has become a victim of the abusive Marcos Jr. administration. It is well known that a good pastor's only desire and actions are to help the government in shaping the country toward a prosperous and peaceful Philippines. But what did Bongbong Marcos do in return? Instead of providing due process for Pastor Apollo regarding the fabricated accusations, the government is hastily prosecuting him. Attorney Israelito Turion, the legal counsel of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, cannot comprehend why the current administration is so determined to pursue the case against the good pastor when it has not yet been proven in court.
Bakit tutukan talaga natin si pastor? May mga remedies pa nga siya under the law. Bakit hindi i-rule muna yung MR niya para makaakyat sa Court of Appeals at wala naman talaga siyang kasalanan? I-draw mo yung attention sa tao para siguro hindi na mapag-usapan na yung bigas ngayon, 50 pesos, 60 pesos na, or yung malapit na tayo magkagyera kasi under the EDCA, imbis na 5 sites lang, naging 9 na. So, 17 na ngayon. Other issues are confronting us which should have been attended to by the administration. But
Attorney Torion's statement pertains to the 10 million peso reward from the Department of the Interior and Local Government and Philippine National Police for anyone who can locate Pastor Apollo. KOJC lawyers questioned and criticized this, emphasizing that Pastor Apollo is neither a fugitive nor a terrorist.
Siguro ginagawa ito para meron tayong sine na makikita araw-araw. Kasi may SMNI si Pastor sigurado, aangal tayo So, madraw yung attention dito at makalimutan na yung tumataas yung ating utang at yung ating korupsyon na grabe na masyado. So, hindi na mapag-uusapan. Yun lang pong observation ko.
For Jeffrey K. Eric Celis, a former National Intelligence Officer of the CPP, NPA, NDF, it's clear that Marcos Jr. is just covering up his failures as president.
Sa displacement theory po, gusto nilang iwasan na hindi pala ang kapa ang totoong scam sa investment. Ang real big-time scam ay ang Maharlika investment scam ni Bongbong Marcos na dapat ngayon ay maimbestigahan. Klaro yun.
This is why Ka Eric is no longer surprised that Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy is facing excessive defamation and suppression of his rights.
Kaya nakakaharap tayo ng ganitong problema kay Pastor Kibuloy na mga illegal ang ginagawa, nagtatago sa batas, and yet ayaw aminin na illegal ang ginagawa because ito yung wag the dog theory or sa physics displacement theory. Para po lituhin ang taong bayan at i-confuse ang kalagayan ng mamamayan at hindi mapukusan ang pananagutan sa malubhang pagkawala ng kakayahang mamuno ng Marcos Jr. government.
For God, my beloved Philippines, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
The legal team of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ is questioning the possible government seizures of their properties. MJ Montihar reports.
There is a high possibility that the government will seize the properties of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. This is despite these properties not being part of the fabricated accusations hurled against Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy. In a press conference in Davao City, KOJC Legal Counsel, Attorney Israelito Torion explained how this could happen by incorporating an anti-money laundering provision into a previously dismissed case against Pastor Apollo.
Paano po ang kaso na originally nag-originate ng rape? Gagamit yung prosecution of a provision of law pertaining to anti-money laundering with proviso on criminal forfeiture order, which states that the prosecution will proceed against the subject of the crime, the fruits, or any property used as a means of committing the crime, and all the assets and properties of the accused, either personally owned by him or held by him or in the name of other person, if the same shall be found to be manifestly disproportionate to their lawful income.
Should this proceed, Attorney Torion foresees the issuance of an Asset Protection Order or APO. But what is the impact of an APO?
So what does this mean? This means that the prosecution may move later on for APO rather, Asset Protection Orders, so that the prosecution will be empowered now to pinpoint any of the properties and request the court to issue an order to seize the property. Kung gagawin itong kingdom ay pagmamay-ari ni pastor, no? And then they will provide evidences, no? Hindi naman kay pastor yun nakapangalan. Sa Kingdom of Jesus Christ naman yun, which enjoys a personality distinct and separate from Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy.
In protest against the looming government action, constant vigilance is now being upheld over the church's properties. These properties are funded by the blood, sweat, and tears of each member and worker of KOJC, led by the good pastor.
So there is really this danger, no, that the properties of the kingdom may be subject to criminal forfeiture orders later on in the light of the phraseology of the information filed before RTC Branch 159 Pasig City.
With that, KOJC members all around the globe assert that the state has no right to the church's properties, given that the KOJC did not use a single cent of government funds for establishment.
Una, balikan ko lang yung direction pala yung plano nilang kukunin yung mga kingdom properties. Ang Kingdom Nation po at si Pastor Kibuloy, ni isang sintimo po, wala po kaming ninakaw sa inyo. Kayo po ang nasa gobyerno ang mga magnanakaw. Ni isang kusing ang Kingdom Nation at si Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy, wala po kaming ninakaw sa inyo. at ngayon kukunin nyo ang mga kingdom properties. Dugo, pawis, luha po ang ininvest namin. Binuhos po namin dito para sa mga kingdom properties buong sanlibutan nito. And because of your evil and envious eyes, kukunin nyo sa amin po. Hindi po pwede yan.
Meanwhile, aside from the long-dismissed cases of Pastor Apollo at the Davao Regional Trial Court, his legal team criticized the transfer of jurisdiction over the case. Attorney Torion stated that aside from the revived case and the looming property for feature, the hearings were transferred to Pasig and Quezon City RTC.
Ang ginawa pa, naging dalawa pa yung kaso, na split pa. If you will read the resolution of the Department of Justice, the penultimate portion thereof, the Department of Justice actually ordered the city prosecution of Davao to file the appropriate information, wala pong S, in court. No? So ang city prosecution of Davao is directed to file information in court in Pasig. And all law students would know that the city prosecutor of Davao cannot file an information in Pasig because the city prosecutor in Davao has no jurisdiction for crimes committed in Pasig.
Torion is currently the Dean of the JFCFI College of Law, and the study of jurisdiction of cases is basic for law students.
The preliminary investigation, if a crime was indeed committed in Pasig, should have been conducted in Pasig. Basic po yan criminal procedure yan sa lahat ng first year po ng law. Kaya po lumilipad po ang batas dito.
For now, all legal proceedings for Pastor Apollo's cases are still ongoing in court. What is clear is that no final decision has been made yet regarding the charges against him. For Ganamabul of Philippines, MJ Mondiha, SMNI News.
Newsline World will be back after the break. Desalination plants built by the UAE in Gaza produced about 130 million of clean water to Palestinians in the besieged territories since December. Grato Omari files this report.
Intelligence chiefs from Egypt, United States, and Israel traveled to Qatar as talks to secure a ceasefire in Gaza continue to encounter political deadlock. Hamas informed its Lebanon-based ally Hezbollah last week that the Palestinian militant group has agreed on the proposals for a ceasefire. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh informed officials from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey to discuss a proposal for a Gaza ceasefire. Senior Israeli and Egyptian security officials as well as representatives from the U.S. traveled to Cairo, Egypt on Monday to discuss the Gaza hostage and ceasefire deal. CIA Director William Burns attended the talks in Cairo and was also expected to attend the meeting in Qatar's capital of Doha, which started on Wednesday. Meanwhile, conditions set by Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to secure a truce sparked fears of potential delay in the ongoing negotiations. Among the conditions set by Netanyahu include no weapons will be smuggled from the Egypt-Gaza border to be passed on to Hamas. The Israeli Prime Minister also demanded that any ceasefire deal must allow Israel to resume fighting in Gaza until its objectives are met. Israel's war cabinet also decided to continue its operation in Rafah in order to pressure Hamas and hasten the release of more than 100 Israeli hostages in Gaza. Death toll in the besieged territory has now exceeded 38,000, according to Hamas-run health ministry. The Arab Parliament also supported the ongoing ceasefire negotiations and once again campaigned for the Palestinian cause and to urgently stop the war in Gaza. Reporting from Dubai, I'm Gratero Omor, your global citizen correspondent for SMNI News Channel.
Iran's new president assured that the nation's support for Hezbollah under his leadership will continue and slam Israel in his latest message. Melchizedek reports.
Assalamu alaikum. Yemenis working for international agencies and embassies have been the target of Houthis' escalating crackdown on an alleged spy network connected to the United States and Israel.
Pezeshkian, who promised to forge better ties with the West, slammed Israel, a close ally of the United States. The president-elect said the Islamic Republic has always supported resistance groups in the region and will not allow Israel's action towards the Palestinians to continue. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah congratulated Pezeshkian for his election victory following a second round of voting held on the 5th of June. Iran has been at odds with Israel and the United States since it was founded in 1979 and sees both nations as its archenemies. Meanwhile, U.S. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said Washington is not expecting policy changes from Iran after Pezeshkian's election victory, but will welcome talks on limiting Iran's nuclear program and terrorism funding.
So we have no expectations that this election will lead to a fundamental change in Iran's direction or its policies. At the end of the day, it's not the president that has the ultimate say over the future of Iran's policy. It is the supreme leader. And of course, we have seen the direction that he has chosen to take Iran in. Obviously, if the new president had the authority to make steps to curtail Iran's nuclear program, to stop funding terrorism, to stop destabilizing activities in the region, those would be steps that we would welcome. But needless to say, we don't have any expectation that that's what's likely to ensue.
The reformist lawmaker pledged to open dialogue with the West if he wins the election. However, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said Washington is not yet ready to resume nuclear talks with Iran. As Washington's future under the new government remains unclear, Iranian Foreign Minister spokesman Nasser Kanani said ties with China will be strengthened under the new government, but channels for diplomatic negotiations with other countries, including the United States, will remain open.
روابط با چین به عنوان یکی از کشورهای بسیار مهم و مؤثر و مهم در منطقه طبیعتاً ادامه پیدا خواهد کرد. روابط جمهوری اسلامی ایران با کشورهای مختلف و کشورهای دوست تابع سیاست‌های کلی و تثبیت شده نظام جمهوری اسلامی ایران طبیعتاً با نگاه به منافع مشترک تقویت و تحکیم خواهد شد و ما در واقع در این ارتباط امیدوار هستیم که شاهد تقویت بیش از پیش روابط جمهوری اسلامی ایران با کشورهای دوست از جمله با کشور چین باشیم.
The Yemeni minister demanded the United Nations shut down its offices in Houthi-controlled regions such as the capital Sana'a and transfer its workers to the southern city of Aden to protect them from the militia's widening crackdown. Reporting from Kuwait, I am Melchizedek Cadiz, your global citizen correspondent for God and for our beloved country, the Philippines.
A Chinese mouthpiece labeled NATO a maker of discord designed to support U.S. harmony as leaders of the world's largest military alliance attended a summit in Washington. Federico Veloso has the report.
For Chinese experts, the recent hype over the Chinese threat propagated by the Western media reveals NATO's core essence as a maker of discord and instability. U.S. President Joe Biden welcomed foreign leaders in Washington for the three-day summit scheduled from the 9th to 11th of July. Biden delivered a strong speech in front of world leaders in which he hailed NATO's strength as an alliance and promised to provide Ukraine with new strategic air defense systems. He made the speech as foreign leaders and members of his political party expressed concern about his health situation and capability to handle a challenging presidency and a tough re-election campaign ahead of the elections in November. The world leaders are also expected to tackle the deepening military alliance between North Korea and Russia, with both countries pounded by Western sanctions. The summit touted attendance from major economies. However, some media platforms took notice of Biden's speech and his performance on the global stage, which they claimed was not as powerful as he tried to portray. As the three-day summit entered its second day, the Chinese Foreign Ministry released a message declaring its opposition to NATO, using China as an excuse to spark regional tensions. The summit marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of the NATO alliance, held in the wake of global tensions and shifting geopolitics. This has been Federico Veloso, your global citizen correspondent for SMNI News.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Son. The greater the trials, the greater the blessings, the greater the persecutions, the greater the miracles. And that's all for this edition. For more updates, you may visit us at smninewschannel.com or follow us on our social media accounts on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Christopher Aclo, and this is Newsline World.